Hey everybody, and welcome back to Blender. In this video we're going to start painting our texture. Before I get started, a huge thank you to everyone for subscribing and hitting that notification icon. That really helps me out. And of course an even bigger thank you to my members and patrons. Your names will be running across the bottom of the screen at the end of the video. So we've already played around with getting our UV texture onto our map like over here. And what we want to actually do now is utilize the tools that we've already got and the stuff that we've already done to be able to actually paint our texture onto our object. So what I'm going to do is on the UV editing tool up here, I'm actually going to hit new and we're going to create a new texture. And this is just going to call this bottle main, and then we have our size option. In the real world, if you're creating props for your scenes in Dash Studio, or if you're creating a scene, a wine bottle, unless it's the main object of the scene, isn't going to need to be a particularly large texture because the prop itself isn't going to be the focus of attention. However, in this case it is. So what we can do is on our size, we can actually adjust what we want to put in there. And I'm actually going to go as far as... let's just go with 1024 multiplied by 4. We hit that and then that gives us our 4096, so we can just type in 4096 there, and then where it says generator type, we're going to go to, we'll make sure that that says blank, and then we're going to hit OK, and that's created us a nice black blob there for our texture. Then we can come over back into our editing tool and we're going to go into material properties, and whilst we're in the material editor we can actually click on this here, and where it says whatever we're going to put as our input, we're going to change that to an image texture like so. And then this little drop down here, we can see bottle main is an option there, and then we're going to hit that. And if we go to our material preview mode, you can see that we now have a black bottle like so. Looks pretty good, apart from the tree reflection, but we'll work on that later on. Okie doke. So now we can come across up to here, and at the top of it we can see texture paint is an option. If we select on that, suddenly all of our tools are adjusted to enable us to be able to edit our texture. So we can zoom in, hold down our control key, and we can zoom in and out, move forwards and backwards, and then we can press shift and use our middle mouse button and it will allow us to move around. And essentially what we have now is the ability to paint on our object. So I'm going to go with a nice dark green be our starting color. Got a brush selected, and as you can see I'm actually painting the color onto our bottle like that, and I can rotate around and I can just keep on painting that texture on there like so. And as you can see in the UV editor, where I've actually got our different shapes mapped out on that screen, they're now starting to appear in the UV editor over there, which is actually a really useful tool because it means that we can see how much of any specific part of our object has been painted. Now obviously this is a slow way of doing it, but it's also a lot more accurate than using procedurally generated textures. So I can get to a point with that bottom corner, as you can see I've mapped out that texture, and because of the way that that shape is defined, I can pretty accurately paint all the way around the outside of that texture without harming what's in the middle, unless it bleeds over, which as you can see it just did there. So I can actually rotate under like that and then just paint around there with my paintbrush tool like so, and select that there like that, and then that's pretty much that entire circle there now coloured in. And we can do the same thing with this. I want the entirety of the outside of this bottle to be green, but I'm not overly concerned with the inside of the bottle because the player or the person who sees this in the game is never actually going to see the inside of this bottle, because this is going to be a small prop located in the corner of a scene somewhere. At no point is this object going to be interacted with in any meaningful way, so we can just really nicely, really carefully paint over this entire object like so. And as you can see, it's now filling in the shapes in the UV editor tool that we actually want filled in. Meanwhile, all that extra nonsense that was appearing around there has no longer got anything visible on our UV editor, which is pretty useful overall. Right, so we've got a base of green there. We can come in, and if you wanted to, you can hold down right click and you can adjust the color there. So I want to go there. I maybe want to go for the color of a label. Maybe I want a white label, who knows. Slightly off white. I can adjust the strength and the radius here like so. So now if I wanted to, I could just paint, you know. And you can be a lot more accurate when you do this. I'm just kind of doing this for demonstration purposes. And this is a good way, even if you're not going to paint the label in this fashion, this is a good way of giving you an idea of if you were to export this texture into an image editor, you can now see the boundaries of where that label wants to be. So as you can see, we've got a nice solid line there, nice solid line there. The bottom's a little bit wobbly and the top's a little bit wobbly, but you get the point. And then we could do the same thing with the label at the top. So if we're going to be there, I actually want to reduce my radius slightly, so we're going to come down on that to about there. And then I can do the same thing basically here with the label around the top of the bottom. Like so. Slow and methodical, fast and clumsy, however you want to do it. And now you can see that we've got this really good outline that we can actually export this image to another image editor if we want to, and we can actually see where the labels need to be on the bottle. We can actually see everything that we need to see in order to make a really decent texture. Anyway, that's about it for this episode, guys. I hope you found that useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. But until then, you take real good care of yourselves, guys. Bye-bye. One final thing that I wanted to mention as an addendum to the end of this video is how to actually save our texture. And it's quite simple, actually. All we have to do is, within our UV editor or our texture editor, we can go up to the top here and click image, and we're going to hit save as. And as you can see, I've already saved mine up here, but it's just a simple case of choosing where you want to save it, giving it a file name and hitting save as image, and then you have your texture image that you can adjust elsewhere if you want to.